Welcome. Today we are going to be talking about Ocasio-Cortez getting burned by the Democrats. Things are not going well for her. We're going to talk about clown memes, and then we're just going to have a regular off the cuff conversation. Today it's just the three of us: Boone, Tommy, and me, Samo, of course. And yeah, we're ready to go.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the clown world. It's not racist. It's just a fact. The world has gone mad.
It is true. I mean, I'm enjoying it again. Like with the clown memes, I feel a little bit uneasy because I'm like, this is pretty funny, and then I'm like, it's very nihilistic, of course. But then I don't know. I'm just kind of having a blast. I showed you. I think I showed you guys a video of some deranged person who is like anti Pepe, wearing clown makeup, going on a rant about that they're gonna take the clown back for themselves or something.
I did see that, and she sounded very anti-progressive to me. She was very aggressive and
She was calling people
not
degenerates and stuff, and
she was
it,
very,
it
very uninclusive.
I felt really, it really made me insecure. You know, I wish. I mean, I can't be. I wish I could be cool like that with the clown makeup on video shaming people, but I'm just a right
You're
wing
too
loser.
progressive for that.
Yeah, well, yeah, oh yeah, that might be true.
uh no, I mean the funniest thing about the whole clown meme, clown Pepe, clown world thing going on, I think Styx really nailed it down in one of his recent videos where he was talking about the meme and he was talking about how silly it was that you know people have basically forgotten that memes are what you make them. Like, it's impossible for a meme to be intrinsically anything, which is, I think, an exact quote from that video. And it's true because the entire concept of a meme is that it gets repackaged and resold and rebranded as something completely different. That's why, Pepe the Frog is what it is. It at one point was literally just a reaction picture to express smugness, but yeah, all the other identitarian stuff came later because it was repackaged. It's silly. It's silly to see a bunch of people freak out over um a meme that does have some truth to it. I mean, it is very true that our world has gone insane. I mean, you've got people basically advocating for murdering newborn babies, at the same time that they don't want illegal immigrants to be punished, and they're trying to say that a wall is like immoral and racist. Like the entire progressive Hollywood, elitist, whatever, progressive communist, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, their entire platform is the definition of insanity. I mean, they're insane, and they're causing the world to look progressively more insane. So the clown world meme really does have a lot of truth to it. I mean, it's just happenstance that, maybe not happenstance, maybe opportunistic uh, ability that the racial identitarians on the right have seized upon the honking.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would agree. Like we definitely like it's a very relevant meme, and it's just like I think the reason why, because like here we are talking about the insanity of the left, but the reason why I believe, especially the far left, is so insane is because they've rejected basically information that we've gained in like for thousands of years of history about biology, morals, ethics, all these things. And I feel like, this is bound to happen when you reject, all of the, I guess, the facts, all the things, all the information that we gathered to create Western society. You're going to be insane like that. It just only makes sense. And I think, yeah. And so, and it's just kind of interesting to me too, like just the whole, it's funny to me that there are still Pepe memes going around. Like if the left just ignored it and they didn't make a big deal about it, it would have just been like, oh yeah, there's this meme that was going on for a little bit about a frog and that was that. But the outrage just helps evolve Pepe more and more.
Of course, yeah. I mean, the fact that people are getting so upset about things really forces them to put things being, oh my God, these people who disagree with me are using effective, imagery. It's like they're literally getting upset because people who disagree with them are able to use effective imagery better than them, while at the same time not attempting to learn how to use imagery to their benefit. It's kind of funny to watch how impotent they are.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Let's see. When like what is one of your favorite sort of Pepe memes that you've seen recently?
I mean, I have really enjoyed the clown memes
Yeah,
pre.
yeah.
I guess I don't even want to say the thing that I'm thinking about because I don't want to get the stream like fucking
All right.
derailed. But
Yeah.
pre New Zealand, um, like I really thought that the clown meme was pretty fucking hilarious. But the fact that it's connected with this whole concept of like accelerationism, and then there's this whole other side of it where it's like it's not just pointing out the absurdity of things, it's the concept of pushing the absurdity of things and trying to push the envelope to get people to realize how crazy shit is. But when you get that kind of energy going, obviously I'm not blaming the meme specifically for New Zealand. I'm just saying, like, it definitely has gotten caught up with a group of people who are wanting to push the envelope in order to prove that like modern leftism and like modern progressive ideology is wrong in a way that I don't personally agree with. I mean,
Right.
accelerationism is uh, it's essentially the concept or the ideology that there is no way that we can fix the bad things that are happening in our society, so we have to make it worse before it gets better. And it's just shitty. I mean, that's going to lead people to do awful, shitty things.
Well, yeah, I don't think yeah, the meme didn't really originate. Like that's not really what it was based on anyway. It's just sort of like commentary. And I think what happens is you sort of get like a zeitgeist that's going on. You get some memes, and then there are like some deranged people out there that go that extra mile that nobody should even be thinking about going. And it's just true. Like you just see a lot of different things going on, and information is spread really fast, and it just really festers in the head of those who are just like messed up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I think there's definitely a sector of society that is more highly affected by um, the sort of intense echo chambers that you can become involved with on the internet, for good and for bad. But I think ultimately it comes down to how balanced you are. And I also think that a lot of the problems that you see with like extremism on both sides comes down to a lot more personal things than you would, maybe not you, but like the people who are proposing or being proponents of the extremist ideology would like to admit. I mean, a lot of these people like to think it's, oh, I'm right. It's, they've got their pet issue that they get really hype about, and they think that it's the most important thing in the world. And again, this is something that straddles both sides of the political spectrum. And I think it's actually more of a personality flaw that leads a personality or maybe even spiritual flaw that leads certain people down the road of extremism to the point where they're literally willing to carry out violence.
Right, right. And so I think like when a meme kind of starts, I like to enjoy it in the beginning because like every time there's something going on, I'm like, all right, well, people are gonna have too much fun, and then some event's gonna happen, and the media is gonna draw these false connections to it, and it's gonna be done. So like I don't know, I feel like everything kind of happens in a couple weeks cycle where this meme kind of popped up. I want to say 6 or 7 weeks ago. It seems like there's like a 6 or 7 week like
Yeah, a
kind
couple
of
months, I would
kind of
say,
yeah, a
for
couple
sure.
month like lifespan where you get a couple weeks where it's buzzing and bubbling like on 4chan, the internet, wherever, and then you know it kind of breaks into the mainstream because some event usually happens. And maybe that's the whole idea behind memetics, not in a nefarious sense, but maybe, you know, a lot of people who make memes, and when they blow it up, they just naturally know that, all right, something's gonna happen, it's gonna gain all this attention. Yeah,
I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean,
maybe it's not yeah,
but I think it's more natural than
you
that.
think it's more natural? Yeah,
I think it's just more. I think it's just more people interacting with the the free flow of information. It's not always going to lead to positive things. I mean, it doesn't mean that you, in my opinion, it doesn't mean that you curtail it or change it. It
right.
just means that anything, any technology, any advancement of human ability is something that is going to be able to be used for great good and great evil. I mean, it's not moral in itself. It waits for humans to inject the morality to it. So it's definitely free flowing. But Tommy, what have you heard about the clown meme honk honk? Have you heard of it? Do you know about it? Or are we speaking gibberish to you?
Yeah, I know what the clown meme is.
What do you think? What do you think about it?
Yeah, it's funny ish. It's definitely true that we live in a clown world.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. But I was gonna ask you, like, but like, do you notice sort of the nihilistic theme in it? Like, that's the thing that sort of worries me, is because like I saw there is this meme that I shared the other day where it showed the Doomer, and it's like it's actually a line from the Joker movie coming out where he goes, "I once thought my life was a tragedy, but now I'm starting to think it's a comedy." And you can kind of see like this transparent like clown Pepe in the background, like he's transforming. And to me, I don't know how I feel about it. And I saw like people were talking about the preview to the Joker movie, and people were making parallels to the clown meme and stuff like that. And then they're making a connection between like, oh, is the, like, you know, what's Hollywood saying about this? Is like the Joker gonna be the typical like incel white guy? Is he gonna is he gonna also have a cell phone that he's constantly tweeting on and stuff like that? And so it's kind of interesting where I think there's this theme going on where I think young white men sort of do feel like, especially for them, it's a clown world, and it's like they're kind of like, what do we do? Because I mean, that's the group of men, I mean, the group of individuals that are getting blamed for a lot of toxic things going on in society, and I think it's pretty unfair. So yeah, I don't know.
It's totally unfair. And I mean, it's funny that the left pushes this concept of toxic masculinity, and I don't know if you guys saw a recent Sticks video where he was talking about like the real toxic masculinity
Uh-huh.
is actually coming from their own side. I mean, it's
Yeah.
coming from the male feminists who are using political ideology to mask their true intentions. And it just shows like a really lack of awareness that is festering on the side of, and to be totally fair, I don't see it on the right, but maybe it is there. I really just see it on the left, where their ideology really truly reflects a lack of understanding of the world around them.
Well, yeah, and I think it's, see, the other thing that's like really messed up about this is we do have things in society that I think are influencing people to be toxic, but the thing that the left forgets to realize is maybe it's pushing the idea that there is no morality, that we live in a post-truth environment. Like maybe that's why people are being toxic. I mean, it's like, to me, it's like frustrating to see males getting blamed for these things. Like, I'm gonna go off subject a little bit here, but like, for instance, like, yeah, the whole toxic masculinity thing, I think a lot of the damage that happens with the way that men interact with women in the world comes from like an unrealistic view on relationships and sex. And I think like widely accessible internet porn is to blame for a lot of the things. But if you said that, people on the left would and they'd panic and they'd fall over dead or like call you a bigot or something like that. But it's like, well, maybe that's kind of maybe just telling people you can live, do whatever you want all the time. Maybe that's where a lot of the problems are coming from. It's not from males being themselves.
Yeah, post-truth is very dangerous. I mean, it takes away the standards by which we judge things. And it takes away the standard by which we understand a successful life. I mean, personally, I think it's really disgusting that one of my life goals is to have kids and like to raise children. And like when and again, like to be totally fair, I do live in in a very, very liberal bubble.
Mm-hmm.
So this is probably not like if I was in Wyoming, it would probably be a little bit different. But if I express, my interest in having children, or living and working around people, certain things come up in natural everyday talk. And if I tell or express myself in a way that I'm honest and I'm like, yeah, well, like I really, really want to procreate, it's very sad to me that my reaction is mostly like, well, you're fucking crazy, dude. Why would you want to have kids? Like you're retarded. Like why would you want like the world sucks? Like why would you want to have children? And to me, the fact that the world sucks has zero bearing on me wanting to progenerate and having
Yeah.
and
I
having
mean,
a life outside of what the TV is going to talk to you about.
right. I mean, you could make an argument for not getting out of bed in the morning because the world sucks. Like you can make that excuse about anything, and it's just like, yeah, it's not really the way it is. And I'm not preaching this trad lifestyle or anything like that. But if somebody feels like they do want to get married and raise kids, like people shouldn't be trying to dissuade you from that. It doesn't make any, it doesn't really make any sense to me. And I don't know. I think personally, when it comes to these things, there isn't a whole lot of talk about how a certain type, like how a relationship that's based on building a family and raising kids can be very fulfilling. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, the fact that we as humans are interested in sex and think about sex all the time, it's not just for the purpose of sex. I mean, there are other reasons for it. So I think people, when they dismiss the idea of getting married and raising a family, they're not really thinking about, well, maybe there are reasons for doing that. Maybe, I mean, it's basically what we are. It's in our nature.
It's absolutely in our nature.
But
I mean, and ultimately, it is it is a part of the anti-truth, or maybe not even anti-truth, but just post-truth, postmodern, view of the world,
yeah,
to say that having kids is negative or bad. And it's sad. It's really sad. I mean, it's suicidal. It's funny. There's one thing, I mean, it brought Sticks up
yeah,
a
yeah.
ton, but like at the same time, I disagree with him a lot too. Like
Uh huh.
he had a lot to say recently in one of his recent videos about population control, and about how essentially the birth rates, dying in heavily populated areas is somehow associated with nature itself trying to restrict population. And I just fully disagree with him on this concept. I could not disagree with him more. I see the drop in birth rates among and it's not all urban centers. It's mostly white urban centers. I see that as more directed. But I could be wrong, and he does make the point that some of these urban places in Africa that are breeding in huge amounts, he thinks that essentially those places will see the same problems that we have now, over here, or maybe not over here, but maybe more Western Europe is a better
Mm-hmm.
place to draw attention to, because the birth rates in America are actually pretty decent, all things considered. But I just disagree with him. I think there's a lot more going on. I think that ideology plays a much bigger role in production of more people, production of society, essentially. Because if you can't produce the next generation, then your society might as well be nothing. you might as well stop right now, because if you're not going to be producing the next generation, the next iteration of your beliefs, then you're fucked.
Yeah, yeah. And and just as a reminder, I'm not, saying, oh, everybody should be trad, everybody should live this way. I'm just saying that for all the times that I've told people that I'm not homophobic, I'm not racist, like I've stood up for these things, I'm also on the other end where I'm like, all right, so if we're going to accept people for the way that they live, don't preach at somebody who wants to live like what's considered quote unquote traditional. I would say, more normal. But it's like, yeah, people shouldn't shit on you for having those ideals, because, I mean, we all stand for free speech. People should live how they want. And I don't think anybody should get judgment for that. I mean, it's kind of a noble thing when you think about it. So, kind of how I feel.
For sure. For sure. I brought Sticks up a lot this stream already, and I feel like it's
No, it's all
gonna
right.
keep happening. He's had a lot ever since he had that little bit of a like stumble. He had like whatever stumble. I mean, maybe
Yeah.
that's not accurate. But, I mean, he had like a couple days where he was just making like music videos and
Uh-huh.
like and just kind of, and it was right after he had been like, "Yo, I'm going through personal stuff." But he has really bounced back. I mean,
Has he?
yeah, his last like 3 or 4 days of content creation have been like old Sticks, very vibrant, very focused on the issues, on point. And I think it could also be that we're approaching 2020 very rapidly. So I mean, his political content has a lot more to go off of, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, it's just interesting to see. It's definitely interesting to see content creators go through their different phases, because ultimately, at the end of the day, independent content creation is going to suffer from the same things that like big conglomerates suffer from. But the
Yeah.
fact of the matter is, individual people have a much higher resilience and a much higher ability to bounce back. And if they don't bounce back, there's going to be somebody there to replace them. It's not the end. It's just the beginning almost. So it is very, very fun to watch um, alternative media become something really influential.
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I've also been enjoying Tim Pool a lot. He's really been growing in his viewership like quite a bit. I've personally been watching more Tim Pool than Sticks lately, but that's just like a personal preference thing. But yeah, I really like, there's a lot of interesting things going on. Did you end up seeing the interview that Brittany Venti did a week or two ago with this girl named Soph? She's like a Gen Z content creator. And
No, I didn't. I'll have to check it
yeah,
out.
you need to check it out. Like, and she makes some really good videos. But I think right now she either is or was debating Destiny, like just a little bit ago. It's hilarious. She's like a 14-year-old kid who's very anti far left and talks a lot about what's going on with people in her age range. And I'm interested to see the younger generation starting to like move into content creation. I'm interested to see what Gen Z, kind of rhymes right there, but I'm interested to see what Gen Z is going to do when they start getting into the content creation game.
Well, I mean, I definitely think they're going to be more conservative than millennials, but we can only hope that they don't go too far and that they stay in this, in the center. And I think probably their big advantage is just being born into the technology. I mean,
Yeah.
growing up with the level of information, the level of communication that we have, it changes the way that your brain even develops. I mean, to be at such a an age, and not just teen, not just developmental, but to be at like 3, at 2, your whole life being exposed to screens and technology and these tools that we use to get our opinions and our thoughts and our feelings out there nowadays. It brings them into a world where hopefully they will be able to see more than one side of any given issue.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. And naturally when you're young, I was also gonna say you're like, especially like a teenager or whatever, you're usually rebellious and usually question things. And so when you look at what people are being taught in schools, it's only natural that young people are gonna be like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'm gonna go look this up, on my own. And that's the other thing is a lot like younger people are a lot probably smarter than when we were at that age because somebody tells you something, the first thing you do is you pick up the phone and you go right to the Google machine, right? And you look stuff up for yourself. And so I think that younger people might be more inclined to think critically. I have noticed this trend on Twitter where some of like the younger, like later teens or people in their early 20s are starting to embrace like traditional things and spirituality and all that. And I think some of it is in jest. Like you see like the Catholic conservative like youth on Twitter, and they're saying some wild stuff. It's kind of funny, but you can tell there's almost this sense where it's almost like the rebellious like goth kids are like they're gonna go over to like traditionalism and conservatism just to be edgy, because of just the leftist kind of bend that's in their education.
Mark Dice says all the time he makes T-shirts. You can go buy T-shirts that say, "Oh wait, no, this might not be Mark Dice. This might be Paul Joseph Watson. This conservatism is the counterculture." Actually, I think it is Paul Joseph Watson.
Yeah.
But you can still buy T-shirts that say conservatism is the counterculture on them, and it's the new counterculture, and it's true because
the new goth GF is gonna be trad now.
Yeah, absolutely. And she's gonna have way more kids.
Yeah.
I mean, Gen Z is gonna have way more kids than the millennials. I can guarantee you.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it could be, and I think so. Like, it is interesting. You said that this is a little bit like going back a little bit, but you're saying that Styx's view on the population is that this is all a natural thing going on with the birth rates dropping. Is that what you were saying?
He was.
Okay,
he was
yeah.
basically making overtures to the fact that whenever populations become incredibly concentrated, they're gonna decline.
I feel like, well, I don't know if I fully see it that way, but I do think that in our biology there are fail safes, right? So you have people that were pushing anti-traditional, like, this leftist sort of ideology of we're going to rewrite history. It's all about the patriarchy. Like, yeah, everybody's getting worried, like, oh, we're done for. But then you're kind of seeing this natural skepticism with the younger generation. So maybe there are some fail safes, some natural things that do happen. But I think there's also a battle going on where it's like, nature versus machine, where technocrats are trying to do things to not, I don't want to say control the population, but kind of influence these things. So I think it's like a mixed bag of natural things that we're seeing, and then there might be this agenda on top of it that's affecting birth rates.
Well, for sure, and I think, I don't know, technocrats. It's just like people hear that word and they think Alex Jones. They think, they think crazy, but it's not a crazy concept to say that in our modern world, technology is 100% controlled by a very small amount of people. That's all that really technocrats means in a fundamental sense.
I just mean people who believe purely in science and they sort of have this religion to science. Well, no, it's weird because, when I think of technocrats, I don't know. I usually think of like, like the Google type people, like people who think that they believe in nothing but science and that's it. But then they kind of reject all these other things. But yeah, I don't mean it in a Alex Jonesian sense.
Well, no, I mean, but it also does mean something very specific in the sense that there are very, very, very small amounts of people when compared to the vast majority of people who are using technology, who understand the technology, who can recreate the technology, who can write software. I mean, technocracy does not necessarily mean Alex Jones screaming at the top of his lungs, slamming on his fucking, desk, screaming about the technocracy, talking about, God knows what. But it's very, very real to say and to understand that the amount of people proportionate to the control of the technology and control of the direction of that technology is very, very small when compared to the vast majority of people using the technology. And that is a very, very real. I mean, I would say it would be a very, very real danger to humanity.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of power for a small group of bug men at the top, you know. You know.
Oh my gosh, that's a straight up 4chan meme.
Yeah. Hey, I don't know. I don't know where I heard that. I don't know. I just hear things, you know.
Just
But
dig stuff up from the internet.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Also, I was thinking like this is a little bit different, but we were talking about this about how there is this trend where like the yuppie soy boy male feminist is usually the type of person that's known to be like more of the creep. We're seeing a lot of that. And what else was going on? I think there's some video I saw a few months ago talking about a lot of the top guys at Google, and a lot of those dudes that are pretty progressive have had lawsuits, and people say things about how there is this sexist kind of weird like rapey vibe going on with some of those types.
Well, sure, maybe even Google it, but just look at Hollywood. I mean, Hollywood have been they're the ones who push progressive ideology the most. They're the ones who push respect women the most, and it turns out they're the ones who abuse women the most. And then you look at the SPLC, the head of the SPLC, one of the co-founders of the SPLC, Southern Poverty Law Center, is people who consistently are labeling and calling out sexism, racism, homophobia, and you've got their co-founder who has to step down in shame because he's abusing women. I mean, it's just the hypocrisy has no end.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think it's only gonna be like, to me that only makes sense if you are post truth, like post moral, and all that. You think that we are the ones who control everything. We can just pull our own ideologies out of thin air. Like, it doesn't really work that way. In a perfect world, it would be nice if you could be a materialist and you can just say, hey, we're gonna start living this way. Oh, this is the way it really is. It'd be nice, but it's like, as much as you want to change things through a new dialectic, or whatever it is, philosophy, if it's detached from truths and morals that are based on the reality of the world, it's always going to just crumble into just a mess like that. I don't know.
No, it's true. It's true. Do you have any thoughts there, Tommy?
What? About what?
Just about how essentially postmodernism and any ideology that's not anchored in reality is going to fail, and not only fail, but fail in spectacular fashion. That kind of looks the same no matter what ideology it is.
Yeah, that would also include every single religion.
Yes, I would fully agree with that.
Wait, what would include every? Go ahead.
Ideologies that are not based in fact or reality. This would include every single religion, not just postmodernism. I wouldn't say necessarily. If you don't need a I can explain this probably with Christianity. Jesus Christ probably did not exist. If a guy named Jesus Christ back then did exist, he didn't have any superpowers. But Jesus Christ as a role model, as a fictional role model, works pretty well in making people better persons.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, this is again not based in reality, but another great example would probably be fairy tales. The fairy tales, and yeah, I think it's just called fairy tales, are fictional stories that are there to make your kids have morals and values and teach them life lessons.
Well, sure, but the whole point of those things, including your conception of Jesus as a positive role model, even though he's not real, it doesn't matter that the fairy tales or Jesus aren't real. The morals that they're espousing are. That's the
Yeah,
whole point.
I
So
think
it's more like a
get what you mean.
Peterson
Yeah,
way. Yeah.
I think I get what you mean. Yeah, if you're more if your whole quote unquote moral or value set is based on an ideology that tells you that there are no morals and no values and that there is no truth, then no, this can't work. It's gonna fail.
Right.
Yes,
That's exactly what I was getting
that's
at. Yeah.
exactly the point. Yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, and it is. I mean, it's actually a really pertinent example to draw with religion and fairy tales, because in some way these things that are passed on in order to instill morals or good fabric of character, you can say, sure, maybe fairies and gnomes and dragons and maybe even Jesus doesn't exist, who knows, but the fact is, the things that people are trying to pass on with these either fairy tale stories or religious texts do have very strong bearing within human interaction. So I mean, in some way I do see what you're saying, but it does, these things do anchor to human reality in a way that postmodernism does not.
Yeah, there's no postmodern fairy tale, and there's no postmodern religion except for
Harry
this
Potter. I
feminism. Except for what?
said Harry Potter. The lefties really love Harry Potter, and they try to draw from him. Like they use his
Uh,
moral stories.
I have never read Harry Potter, and I have never watched anything of Harry Potter, with the exception of there's a German female YouTube internet personality person. Cold Mirror is her name,
Okay.
and she did fan dubs of Harry Potter, which are extremely disgusting and funny. Uh, yeah, I have watched those, so I have probably seen most of the first 2 or 3 movies without actually watching the movies themselves. So I have no fucking clue what Harry Potter is about, except for things that I got through osmosis, and of course the fact that everyone is gay and pansexual now
Because J.K. Rowling wants them to
yeah,
be. And it's funny too because
exactly.
it's actually superimposed on the stories themselves. Like the stories have absolutely nothing to do with that shit, but her politics do. So she's doing everything
Hmm.
she can to like corrupt that. But when you say there's no postmodern religion, I would disagree with you there. I would say that there is a very strong postmodern religion called social justice.
Or
And yeah,
intersectionality.
you're surrounded by
Yeah.
it there in Western Europe. We experience it here in America at a much smaller degree. I mean, there is absolutely a religious structure surrounding postmodern thought,
Yeah,
and it is destroying Western
But
society.
what's it based upon? That's the thing. You know what
that's
I
why I
mean?
said before that with the exception of what was it, intersectional feminism
Yeah.
as postmodern religion.
Oh, right. But it's like when you look at that, it's like, what is that? It's not even a dignified way to look at the world. It's just like people are different and people are burdened, and some people are more burdened than others. There you go. There you go, society.
And
Have
it
fun.
almost always leads down to like our buddy Derek would probably describe it as a generational oppression or some shit like that, or try to blame it
Uh-huh.
on colonizers, or try to say that like feudal landowners are somehow responsible for like it literally, all roads lead to communism. When it comes to
Hmm.
postmodernism, all roads lead to communism.
Yeah. Yeah, you would almost think that some sort of elitists, put this together, this left-wing religion, it's just like you think about it, it doesn't really do anything. When you think about like brain chemistry and the way certain things affect you and when you internalize certain things, I don't really see anything from the cult of intersectionality that's really building anybody up and giving them hope. It's just stirs up hate mobs and stuff like that. And it's like you'd almost think that it was by design, you know? It's like, I don't know, it's interesting. It's just, and I've mentioned it before, I'm sure, but it's like this internalized sort of metaphysical sort of segregation where we're not really segregated by borders and, you know, like laws like you had in the South and stuff like that, but it's just all in your mind now because people are just obsessed with identitarianism.
They really are. They really are obsessed with identitarianism. And that actually segues almost perfectly into our next topic, which would be, you know, AOC and the Justice Democrats tearing apart the Democratic coalition, a Democratic Party in America, because they are so obsessed with intersectional ideology. They're so obsessed with castigating white men as evil and anybody who has any amount of wealth is evil, and pushing not only quote unquote racial equality through I guess whatever they were trying to do with the New Deal, as far as, oh, you know, we're gonna basically implement actual reparations, but at the same time they are pushing these sorts of ideologies on sections of their political party who are abjectly do not want anything to do with it. And I'm talking specifically about like the Rust Belt and the flyover states, the places where Trump did exceptionally well, the places who the so-called business Democrats represent, the Joe Bidens represent, you know, the last bastions of the corporate Democratic Party are supposedly trying to represent these people, but they have these people within their own party umbrella who are driving them away in droves, who are forcing them to run for the hills because all they can talk about is racial equality. All they can talk about is the wage gap. All they can talk about is trying to refit the American economy to be the greenest thing in the world, which, by the way, is a fucking laughing stock. If you really want to act like the American economy is the economy that's fucking the environment up, then you're stupid. Then you have no concept of what's going on in the world. You have no idea how India runs their economy. You have no idea how China runs their economy. You have no concept of the fact that if you increase our already good standards in America to be incredibly unreasonable for incredibly ideological reasons, all you will ever do is push the economic movement to people who are going to ignore even the standards that you were trying to improve. I mean, it's absolutely ignorant.
No, I agree. I agree with you there. So I feel like it's interesting. I think some people were paying attention to that Mr. Reagan video about the Justice Democrats that came out because it just seems like, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure people were. I think that all this kind of started when Ocasio-Cortez lost Queens a bunch of jobs from Amazon, you know? And I think people were kind of fed up and looking into this whole thing. And I don't know, for me, I mean, I guess a lot of people could have seen this happening. I'm relieved because I don't know, I was freaked out when I was hearing about the Green New Deal and all this stuff, and I was like really worried that there's going to be some sort of a takeover and everything was gonna happen. But I mean, everything, like all this bad stuff was gonna happen. But usually, you know, I usually worry about stuff like that, and I'm usually pleasantly surprised in the end. So I don't know. It just, I hate to say it. I don't want to say it's funny, but it is. It's just a little bit satisfying to see the Democrats at war with each other right now, because there's so many things that people have been trying to say that are being vindicated at this point. So
yeah, I'm full Schadenfreude over here. I'm full on. I don't like. I take great pleasure seeing these people fail miserably. because it's the same pleasure that anybody would take in seeing a total absolute imbecile fail miserably after telling you to change your life and do what they're doing. I mean, I don't like people try to say that like this concept is bad or evil or like, oh, shame on you for, feeling negatively or feeling positively about, your enemies, or not necessarily your enemies, but people you disagree with, doing poorly. At some level, I do understand, but it in the context of the American political structure, it is fucking hilarious to watch people who for years have been going after Donald Trump and trying to hamstring him any way they can, to watch them absolutely fail by their own standards and by their own moral settings. I mean, like carte blanche, whole cloth. These people are crumbling.
Yeah, and I think it would be different. Like, I don't think I would be as happy to see this. Like, say if it was 2016, right? And Trump won and the Democrats were upset for like 2 or 3 weeks and they got over it. I wouldn't really be reveling in like seeing them crumble, but it's just because of just all of the bullshit that we saw, the news just telling us over and over again that the Russians were to blame for Trump getting in, and he's racist, and all these things, all this fear mongering that has just wrecked some people's lives for what, almost 3 years. It's
Yeah,
like yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead, Tommy.
Have you heard about Barack Obama? Barack Obama being pissed off about the left.
Oh, I did hear something about it. I didn't watch the video. What did he say?
Yeah, I didn't watch him talk.
Okay,
He basically said yeah. He basically said the left needs to stop fighting each other. So go fuck yourself. You made this.
Yeah, basically.
No shit.
Agreed.
Stop fighting yourselves, even though I pitted you against each other.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry. Somebody told me that the volume was low a little bit ago. I turned it up. So sorry to anybody. I hope you all could hear us. Just turn it up really loud if you need to rewatch. Okay. But
yeah, no, I mean, go fuck yourself is the correct mentality, Tommy. Like you don't get to complain about something that you almost expressly caused after 8 years of running the Democratic Party.
Yeah, and he probably gave the go ahead to the FBI to figure out ways to subvert Trump anyway in the beginning of all this.
Well, I don't know if you guys do a whole lot of listening to H.A. Goodman, but
Here and there.
He does seem convinced that the hammer is coming down on the current structure of the FBI. I mean, he does seem convinced that he actually seems convinced that Mueller is going to be sending the criminal referrals for these people to Barr. So that would be very interesting. But regardless of if it's Mueller, if it's Devin Nunes, if it's somebody in the House, somebody in the Senate, somebody within the FBI themselves, there has been abject criminality involved at the highest level of our law enforcement for a long time, and its root is with the Democrats. And you want to say, oh well, the Republicans this, the Republicans that. Oh, it's not partisan. It's not partisan. Well, maybe not. Maybe in the future you'll hear me say the Republicans suck so bad because they fucked up, and you'll hear me say that currently about Bush. But the fact of the matter is, the breaches of law that have happened in the last not just 4 years, but almost the entire tenure of Barack Obama are disgusting. And if they don't come to light, if we don't see justice done, it will do irreparable damage to the American law system of laws.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's see. What else do we have we been thinking about lately? Hey, Tommy, we've been talking a lot. If I was wondering what you've been kind of thinking about. Is there anything in Europe going on that you kind of want to mention or bring up?
I don't know. I don't.
You don't know? Okay.
Stuff about Europe.
Right.
I already.
Yeah.
Europe is a thing. not Europe specifically, but the European Union is a sinking ship. I just want to get the fuck out of here. I don't care. It's going to go to shit in the next 10 years, and I hope I'm gone by then.
Well, I hope you're here. Come hang out with us, man. We want you off that sinking ship onto a slightly slower sinking ship.
Last week, a little bit of story. Last week, 2 weeks ago, a friend of mine came back from Morocco. He's one of these somewhat typical white lefties who just travels the world hoping nothing happens. And this guy has fucking stories to tell you wouldn't believe. Anyway, he came back from Morocco, and last week he was visited me. We did a bunch of stuff, and I have no idea where I was going with this.
Story time.
No, it's good. We like a good story.
Where was I going with this?
Northern Africa.
Yeah. Anyway, that's why I did a bunch of other stuff last week during the week, which is why I didn't get my daily dose of Tim Pool and Sticks and whatever the names are.
Okay.
So I kind of binge watched the whole last week. I'm just so fucking done with it. Ocasio-Cortez is stupid. Joe Biden is creepy. Mark Zuckerberg is Zuckerberg is wants to censor everybody. Lefties are corrupt. It's the same 5 fucking topics over and over and over again. Europe is broken. Oh yeah, now I remember. He wanted to get into the United States last year.
Oh, your friend did?
He didn't get in with a visa because this guy, you quite frankly look at him once and you think, nah, I don't think I want you in my country. Anyway, I was talking to him a little bit about how to get into America and everything, and he said, the easiest way is you need a sponsor. You need a sponsor who gives you a job, basically.
Basically, you need an employer. You need somebody who says,
and that's the way it used to be.
To come work for me.
Yeah.
And he told me that he might know someone eventually, but I'm not entirely sure who that is. I haven't talked to him about it since. But if anyone wants to give me a job,
what kind of work? What kind of credentials?
No, Will can hire you when he becomes sheriff.
That's right. You can come over. You can come over and be a law enforcement officer.
Will is watching, by the way. So thank you for watching, Will. He was in the comments, but go ahead. Your voice is cutting out.
What would you do, Tommy, if you came here? Well, I mean, what would you want to do? What's your background in? Tommy,
I think your mic cut out.
Sad days.
No, we lost, and it was just getting interesting. I really wanted to.
We lost Tommy. God damn you, Angela Merkel. What
have
you done?
Yep, it's her fault.
What have you done?
Oh, I think you back? I think he's back. Sorry, Tommy. I don't know if you're trying to talk, but
Well, I will take up one of the 5 never-ending topics that Tommy just described because they are never-ending because we like to talk over and over again.
Boone and I like to talk about those things over and over again. We just like to feel. We like to sit on our ivory tower and look down on the plebeians. But anyway,
I mean, the fact of the matter is, occasional Cortex. Do you know what's hilarious? I got a little bit of story time. Yesterday, I was on my way home from work, and I've been walking, and I walked past a sports bar. I hopped in for some lunch and for dinner, actually, and some drinks. And I was sitting there listening to a conversation between 5 or 6 men who were all probably 20, maybe 30 years older than me, and I heard somebody refer to Cortez as occasional Cortex.
Oh gosh.
And I also heard somebody reference essentially how the left can't meme. He didn't say meme, but
Right.
he brought up basically that concept. And I'm sitting here thinking, like, I'm hearing these people in a lefty stronghold. To be fair, it was a Wild Wings bar, so it's probably not a great representation of actual people. But I'm hearing these people say things that I would say, and it's
Right.
just very reassuring. There are people out there who understand what's going on. There are people out there who are seeing things for the way that they are, and it is a winnable battle. It is not only is it a winnable battle, but it's something that inevitably will be won by people who are propagating the truth. And it's something to take heart in, that the eventual end of fighting for things that are true and real in this world is victory, because that is what truth is. You've already won.
Yeah, no, I agree, and there are probably more people, reading up on this stuff, and they have these views, but because of self-preservation, not everybody is talking about it. It's kind of funny. It's like you think about maybe like the 1950s, right? Or maybe even like 20, 30 years ago, when it comes to things like porn, right? And like sexuality and all that, people at a certain time used to be very hush hush and quiet about it. They didn't talk about it, but everybody was kind of like doing it. It's like, political commentary, grassroots political commentary is like the porn of 2019 that people are embarrassed about telling everybody they watch, in secret. But I think that people, are looking into it, and especially with somebody like AOC, what I would say AOC is, in the Justice Democrats, like what they've been doing, that's sort of the pinnacle. That's that moment that really hit home for, I think, people who are normal minded, where they're like, wow, okay, wow, well, yeah, that's way too far. So I think we've sort of like reached the opposite end of the barometer, where people are like, whoa, okay, what's going on? And now people are looking into it, and they're probably a bit more quiet because, anybody who says anything gets associated with racism and all that. But I think that maybe people will use their heads a little bit more than their hearts next time around, when we're ready to vote in 2020.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's not really going to be very many options in 2020 besides Donald Trump or some psychopath.
Well, people's mind, I guess maybe by that time, people's mindsets will be like, kind of different than in 2016. I think hopefully once we go through all of this, Americans hopefully won't be as easy to manipulate by pulling on their heartstrings as they were in 2016.
Well, and the better the network of information sharing gets, the more likely that will be, for sure.
Agree.
For sure.
Tommy,
is Tommy
man,
still?
No, he's
is
gone.
Tommy back? He's gone.
Nope.
Gone. Sad days. Sad days. Well, we might just have to hear from him next week.
Yeah. Thanks for bearing with us, everybody, with the technical difficulties / my awkward cringiness, but it's just something that's part and parcel with this podcast.
Welcome.
But anyway, all right, guys, this was a lot of fun. We will be back next week. Maybe we'll have a guest. I'm not quite sure, but thank you to anybody who is listening now, and thank you for checking in Finn Castle Underground. Appreciate you, man. All right.
Yep.
See you guys.
Bye.